Mr. Speaker, the Obama administration, led by its Council of Economic Advisors, indicated that if we spent $1 trillion with the stimulus bill, that we would create 3.5 million new jobs. Well, here it is, 8, 9 months later. We spent a great deal of the stimulus money, and instead of creating 3.5 million new jobs, we've lost 3 million jobs. That's a 6.5 million job swing. Yesterday, Dr. Christina Romer, the chairman of the President's Council of Economic Advisors, said that the economic stimulus package, $1 trillion, and remember we're $1.4 trillion in the hole this year, but that the economic stimulus package of $1 trillion wasn't going to work anymore for the next several months, and we should expect the economy to continue to drift downward with unemployment reaching 10%. And the reason I bring this up is because 49 out of the 50 states have lost jobs while we spent $1 trillion to create the jobs. Now just stop and think about that. We're throwing money at this situation as rapidly as possible. The government is getting its nose into every aspect of our economy, moving toward a European socialist type economy, and the economy continues to drift downward. And why is that? Because we're taking more and more money and spending it that we don't have, number one. And number two, they're going to tax us to death at a time when we're suffering economic calamity in this country. Now, what should we be doing? Well, Ronald Reagan came into office back in 1980 when Jimmy Carter had 12% unemployment, worse than now, and 14% inflation, worse than now, the misery index of 26%. And they said you had to raise taxes because we had such problems. We had to have more money, and Ronald Reagan said, well, I think we ought to cut taxes. And so they cut taxes across the board, and he was criticized severely for it. They said that, well, there's going to be a shortfall in money coming into the Treasury. We were bringing in $500 billion a year in taxes at the time, and 4 years later we were bringing in $1.3 trillion. You know why? Because when you cut taxes, you give people more disposable income. Business has more money to invest. And so business invests, people buy more products because they have more money. Because of that, they produce more products, more jobs are created, and the economy expands. It makes common sense. If you have more money, you're going to be able to spend more money. And so what happened was we had the longest period of economic expansion in the history of this country because we had a president that could see what really needed to be done. Let the free enterprise system work and let people have more of their money to spend. Cut government spending and cut government taxes. Well, Reagan did the job. So what are we doing today? We've got a government that thinks they should control everything, and they're moving toward a socialist economy, very similar to what you see in France and England and other parts of the world that are really suffering and continue to suffer through economic chaos. All I can say, if I were talking to the President, is, Mr. President, get real. Wake up. Forget this socialist nonsense. Take a look at the history book and look at what Ronald Reagan did. And if you would do that, and instead of raising taxes, cut taxes, you would stimulate economic growth, put people back to work, and get this economy heading in the right direction. So I don't know if the President pays attention to what we're saying around here, Mr. Speaker, but if he does pay attention, I hope he'll listen and look at the history books and check out what Ronald Reagan did. I yield back to balance my time.
Gentleman yields back. For what purposes, gentlewoman from Ohio rise?